Hey, hey, how are you guys? So, this is a very special town hall because this town hall is literally sprinter families who have been participants in our program for a very long time. And so, this is a very special edition, and I can't wait to introduce to you these powerhouse moms who are rattling the cages of system, who are not ready to see our children as individuals and changing the narrative of those with disabilities. So I'm going to bring on the ladies and get ready. Hey, hey.
Hi. Hi,
Hi.
ladies.
All right, ladies. So let's introduce ourselves. I'm going to start with Boston TV Girl down to Tiffany to then Rachel. So, Boston TV Girl, introduce yourself. Tell us about you.
She always gets it backwards. It's Boston Girl TV. I am an autism mom. I have a 6-year-old nonverbal autistic daughter, which they claim is a smaller subset of the spectrum, the girls. I disagree. I just feel girls are not diagnosed as much. And I am working on moving her into a school district.
Okay. All right, Tiff. Hey, hey, girl.
All right. Sorry about that. I got the little one with me. Sorry about that. But hey, ladies, everybody listening right now, thank you for joining in. Mama five. Little one here is 6 months. Then I have a 3-year-old, and I have 10-year-old boys. They're 8 years old. And my oldest one is 9, and she has autism as well as one of the twin boys. Has is autistic as well. It's been a journey. My story is it could be long if I drag it on, but I'm not going to do it to you guys. But it's definitely, let's just say, it's survival mode. I've been through um, shelter, low income, you name it, homelessness, everything, on top of having autistic child as well.
Mm. So you coming at it with an angle of navigating a lot of systems. I can't wait for us to talk about that.
Yeah.
Rachel, what's up? She's all the way in Belmont, all the way on the other side of town. Introduce
I'm a
yourself.
yep, I'm a mom with two boys. My boys are my little one just turned 6 yesterday, and my older son is 8. They are both diagnosed with autism, and my older son is also diagnosed with ADHD.
Mm.
I'm a single mom. Their dad lives here in town, but we are divorced. And I kind of have a past of like working in law and working in nursing. So I have sort of my way of going around sort of battling the school system's cages because it doesn't seem to matter which system you're in.
Mhm.
People don't want to let go of those resources too easily.
That's so true. All right. So we're gonna start with you, Rachel, since you was the last one to introduce yourself. Can you can we talk a little bit about how this coronavirus school closure in your household?
Do you want to mute people until that person's talking?
No, that's fine because people gotta know this is authentic. This is raw and uncut. People know that these are challenges.
Well, so in Belmont, they have sort of like two systems. So my older son, who's in a general ed classroom, is in the Belmont School District, and my
Mm.
younger son is in a sub-separate classroom, and because of that, he's in the lab collaborative.
Mm. Mm.
Um, and it's kind of it's interesting because they have different ways of doing stuff. And honestly, the first like 2-3 weeks where they tried to give school assignments, I thought my head was gonna explode.
Mm,
Mm.
because they all had different programs, different passwords, different what have you. Plus, I like my younger son will not do anything unless I'm sitting right there on top of him, whether it's attending a Zoom or looking with one of the programs or whatever. I have to sit there.
Mm.
Um, but my older son couldn't do certain things like the writing assignments by himself either.
Mm.
And I'm one person. It's just
Mm.
me. And I have them, most of the time when they should be doing schoolwork. And I really didn't get much from the Belmont School District until I sent a message to my son's classroom teacher and his inclusion specialist, and I was like, he can't access any of this writing work that you're sending,
Mm.
and I don't know how y'all expect me to do any of this when I have another child who's not just on the spectrum but also developmentally delayed. I can't do this with him every day
Mm.
because it takes 2 hours that I don't have.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like it wasn't until I did that they reached out and did anything. They just did nothing.
Mm. Mm.
And then all of a sudden it was like, oh yeah, we're gonna meet with him and we're gonna have whatever. So now he has 4 days a week. He has an hour with either his speech therapist, his inclusion specialist and classroom aide, or the special education consult teacher.
Mm.
So like all of a sudden everything was forthcoming, but nothing was offered. Nobody they came out with speech therapy office hours. That was the only thing that anybody gave us.
Mm. Mm.
The lab collaborative was similar. They weren't really. They were sending like, oh, here's a program, here's a thing, here's a thing, and there was no really communication with the teachers or the therapists or anything until,
Mm. Mm.
gosh, I think we were like a month in, and I
Mm.
had written the director of the entire collaborative, and I was like, where are our kid services? Like, I understand this is a really terrible time, but my son didn't stop needing PT and OT and speech and ABA consult. Like, we need all these things. Where are, like, he's,
Mm. Okay.
you know, our kids, like, this is the lab collaborative. These kids are all at risk
Yeah.
for regression. They're all like, what are you doing? So finally, they set up, he meets with his teacher one on one twice a week. They have a speech and OT group, they have a PT group, and they'll have office hours. And like that's what we have right now.
So, ooh, I think we're glitching out here. The beautiful thing about, you know, let's see. I don't know what's going on here.
You want to put us all back and put us back in?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. Let's see. Because it's acting up, mi gente. I don't know what's up. All right, let's try this. I'm going to refresh. I might lose everybody. Let's see. Oh, we're back. There we go. Beautiful. We're back. All right. So, Tiff, I'm going to go to you. Can you talk to us about what's going on
Yes.
in your household and how this pandemic is affecting your household and education, your services, your resources? And talk to us.
Yes. So the older kids, they go to charter school. So I would say, like, I know there's a stigma. Everybody doesn't like, the charter schools and whatnot. But I really feel like, because I've been voicing my opinion and trying to advocate for them so badly, that I was able to really get them in the right program, the right classroom, just off bat. Fall was so great. They were learning very good. And then because my first twin boy had went to the school before the other two did, so he was already doing good. He was thriving, and then when the lottery came back around for my other two, they were automatically able to go to get into the charter school. So the fall of 2019, they were able to go. As I said, I advocated for them to get their services, and it was good. Teachers, classroom, everything was well. And then here comes wintertime, almost spring, with this pandemic coming on, and it was like a punch in the face, like a punch in the gut. It was like, oh my God, I had all these services in place. We're working on their IEP. We're getting their speech, their occupational services on task. Everyone is on task. And then this hits, and I was just devastated. I didn't know what to do. You know, from being home all day, you know, my oldest girl who definitely loves structure, she loves schedule, she will tell you off the back, oh, we're supposed to be doing this today, if we're not doing this, it goes out of whack for her. And I just knew it was going to be like the summertime of 2019 all over again, where it was not no schedule. He wasn't on medication. It was just everything was just thrown out of whack pretty much. And I knew this was going to be a test of the waters for not only just her, for me, her father, her other siblings as well. Um, so I just kind of like quickly just had to get myself together, like check myself, like, okay, well, here I am. Let's get to Dollar Tree. Let's get some school supplies, some pencils, pens, paper, posters, stuff like that. Just make it like, like what they're doing at school, except they're just not getting up to go every day. Let's get these speech and service, speech stuff. And I had to research stuff like that she was doing, like that. And it's been a good communication between her teachers and the services that they will provide at the school. As far as for she's in a classroom where it's only 7 to 2. So the teachers are very close knit. They're very personal. They really will, if you have any questions or you need anything, they will definitely, you know, ask you, or you can ask them. It's really open door policy, pretty much. So I never had a really issue with the teacher really, making, answer my questions pretty much. As far as my other two sons, one has dyslexia, the other one is autistic. Um, it's a little challenging. They're in a classroom where it's like 20 to 2. So they're in a classroom where it's inclusion, and it's pretty much all over the place. On top of the fact that three of the teachers out of my twin school, like two of them were on maternity leave. It was a change around because two of them went pregnant, and they left right at the tip of this whole pandemic. So they at the tip of the whole situation of us introducing new teachers to them. Then they left, and then we had to go and they see these other new teachers that they had no way of knowing, like their personality, how their challenge are, anything of that nature. So I could say it's a little bit more challenging with them, but so far it's been pretty okay. We're just dealing with what we have, keeping the communications. My email is it's like I'm getting more emails from school than I am on personal level. I think I should create an email just for the school itself, because I'm getting so much emails back to back. But yeah, just we're just dealing with what we have, and just taking it one day at a time. Obviously, I wish that they had other things that we can be out and it could be more structured, but it is what we can get. And as far as like outside services, two of them was getting ABA services, but only my son is getting it now, and he's getting it done over virtually. So it's been pretty well, but what can you do?
Oh,
All right. So, Monique,
Kids are
talk
showing us up, man.
to So, all right. So, Monique, tell us a little bit about you because I know that your situation is a little different. I'm gonna give you the solo space. So, talk to us because I know that your daughter's transitioning from an ABA learning center to now she's entering the public school. So, talk to us about that.
I feel like the discussion of special needs is how do we service these kids, and it's never about the different needs of these children. Meaning that Ava is autistic, but she doesn't talk. She's not totally potty trained. She's 6, so she's not considered high functioning. She's not considered low functioning either, which is hard to explain to people. But the difference with me was I didn't have a school system to debate because she was in an autism center. So the autism center offered home visits, like you could come to the house, they'll come to the house. And the reason I was against that is because my mother lives here, she has pre-existing conditions. Ava has seizures and other pre-existing conditions. So we already been in the emergency room during the pandemic. I was not risking that at all. She refuses to wear a mask and all this and that. So I was like, they weren't just coming to my house. They'd come to my house for half a day, then somebody else would come, and I don't know where they've been. So I was like, no. So I started doing telehealth ABA. I turned into an ABA therapist. But here's the thing though, not a lot, I'm not saying all, I don't have anybody else to help me in general. And I'm considered pretty much an essential worker at my job. So thank God I can work from home. But that literally, I made my job automated like 3 months ago, 3 months before the pandemic. And they really wasn't let me work from home, which would be helpful as far as Ava is concerned. But, once the pandemic came and they realized I could work from home, they're like, oh, well, you can work from home. Whereas other people at this job that I guess are not essential have been like just sitting home collecting a check. I haven't. I've worked every day since the pandemic has been in, right? So this is my schedule. From 8 to 4, I'm working. From 4 to 5, I do telehealth with the ABA therapist. From 5 to 6, 6:30, I'm running trials that they would be running 40 hours a week or whatever. Now, my hope was that she wouldn't regress. I wasn't looking for some spectacular, she's developmentally delayed, she doesn't talk or whatever. I wasn't looking for some spectacular growth. I just didn't want her to regress backwards. That's the only reason I did that. So I did it 3 days a week. Thursday's my long day. I take Thursday, Friday off. So I do ABA Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday with the therapist. Then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Saturday, Sunday, I'm running trials. So it's really a shit show. I get no sleep, no nothing. Shopping's a challenge because I do have my mother here, so I'd wake up at 6:30 in the morning to go after the senior citizens. So I'm not waiting in a line, because they can only let so many people in the store. All this to say, I fought Metco for a year because they've been discriminating. That's another live that we could do a whole nother time because it would take up the whole time. So she will be going to a suburban school if they open in September. That's a big if in September, but there's not much because she's not a student yet. So they're not obligated to do anything at the moment because she's literally not a student. She has to be a student for them to be obligated to do anything. We finished the IEP on Zoom. I just signed it virtually. I mean, to me, the stresses of being a single parent, and granted, I only have one child, but she takes a lot of energy. Okay. She takes a lot of time. She takes a lot of supervision because, when I'm doing all of this while working too, you know, and I'm trying my best, you know, that's all I can say. I am trying my best. But to be honest, they're opening the autism center slowly. They already opened it for kids who have no services. Like they didn't do the home, they didn't do the telehealth. So they started with that. But there's population issues. They can only have so many kids in the center. So I don't know where Ava's on the list. Am I ready to get her back there? Yes, I am totally ready. I need a break. And I feel like us as mothers, us as autism mothers, that's almost like a shame thing. You need a break. Well, you're a mother. Okay. Sometimes you need a break so you don't wring this child's neck. Okay. I'm sorry. I need a break. And me going to work and her going to school was the break. You know what I mean? I mean, I didn't have a break in the other way. But the point is, sometimes you need to decompress. And the fact that we've been in this house for 10 weeks, and now because of her seizures, the neurologist said we can't even go for walks because of social distancing, and she won't wear a mask. I don't know what to say.
All right. Okay. So that's a good segue to kind of talk about where do we go from here, right? Because I don't know about you guys, but I'm kind of feeling the stressors about reading all these CDC guidelines, you know, and I'm not really, I don't know about you guys, but I'm not really hearing too much from my school district in terms of what reopening our schools look like. Do they have any committees that is made up of parents, business owners, like who is making the decision to reopen schools, and what does that really look like? Because I see in different states they're talking about scattered schedules where some kids will go to school, 2 or 3 days out of the week, while others go 2 days out of the week, so that all the kids are not in the same building at the same time. So there's all this talk. And then we're kind of catching all the stuff on social media, which one has been super overwhelming. And then, but I don't really see any conversations with parents about us and the reopening of our schools. So I don't know who wants to kind of chime in, but
As far as Boston goes, I don't think that's going to work because they tried to move schools back 1 hour. They tried to switch up when the elementary school kids went to when the high school kids went. And they boycotted and they did everything because why are you going to give the older kids more time to sleep that don't need a babysitter to the younger kids where people have to go to work and they need to pay for a babysitter? And I remember when the superintendent did it, it was such a shit show. Marty Walsh got rid of him quickly. Quickly, he was gone. So this 3 days a week sounds okay in theory, but what about the people who have to go to work?
yeah, I don't know.
That's basically what happened to me is I got furloughed because I can't work. And because I do have two of them and only myself, things rapidly become unsafe if they're not eyeballs on them. Like people, like I can't even, like my one son who tried to open the window and climb out. My other son who ran and touched the stove while I was trying to eat.
Wow.
Like, they jump off of things. My one son grabbed a picture frame and smashed it because he got aggravated about something. Glass flew everywhere. And this is just during this pandemic period. Like, this isn't even these are the kind of shenanigans, right? And if there's no and I don't know about having sitters in my house the same way, because I don't know where they went or who the people they live with went. I have asthma, and really, for my kids, okay, yeah, their dad takes care of them sometimes, but the person who really does most everything is me. I don't have time to even get sick. I don't even have time to get a headache.
Yeah.
Right.
you, Tip? Talk to us. Like, what are you thinking? How are you feeling about this reopening of the schools? Have you heard anything? Like, talk to
I
us.
have really mixed feelings.
Uh,
Like I'm really afraid that like if they go back, are the germs coming back?
Yup.
yeah, yeah,
You
And
know
like
what's
even if
funny?
they do go back,
definitely.
how is that even going to work? Like for me, like I can't, you can't out here in the burbs, you can't even hire a sitter for like before and after school. You have to use the before and after school program. So
Hmm.
if they open the school, will they open that? Because I can't get to work in Boston and back to pick people up without that program.
Yeah.
Well, you know
You
what's
know,
funny? This governor has definitely got criticism for this late information. Like he's waiting to the last minute to trickle out information. And the commissioner of education, I only seen on that screen once when they closed the school. There ain't been no more updates about school. But it's the same thing as Governor Baker. He said they were opening up on the 18th and waits till the 18th to tell you
Right.
more. They're
Yeah.
not keeping us abreast. I
No,
don't know
no
what
one's on
has
I
the
to
don't
same
even
do.
page.
know if ESY, like what's happening with ESY right now. I have
Yeah.
no idea for
All I
either
know
of
is
my kids,
canceled.
not for
That's
Lab
true.
and not for
That's
Belmont.
true.
Nobody knows yet.
Yeah.
No one's on the same page. That's the problem. We have so many people from here to there to there. No one's on the same page. The governor's on the same page as the mayor. The mayor's on the same page as the school councils. It's all over the place. And how can we really trust the fact to bring our kids back into an environment that there may be another relapse of this pandemic coming around again?
But also, I mean, to put the political climate on, he is a Republican. And I feel that that plays into how he's playing this. Marty Wash is a Democrat, and Donald Trump already threw him under the bus. So I feel that the governor is treading lightly for his party.
He's afraid for his party, but he knows that the state of Massachusetts isn't so red. So he's trying hard to
Mm,
like play both ends of the spectrum, and what
both
we're getting is
sides.
gobbledygook.
But
I'm
if you think
sorry.
about it, there's so much that's happened on his watch this year. He needs to get this right to have any chance of getting elected again. So, him having an attitude when people are asking him questions, asking him what the phases are, what are you going to do? And he's giving you these smart ass remarks like, don't ask me again. I said what I said. No, player,
Oh,
this is our
wow.
tax dollars. You need to tell us what's going to happen.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
like, I mean, seriously, can he be accountable for having one of the biggest outbreaks in the entire country here? Like,
Mm.
is he like, are we going to be accountable for that or no?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't
You
see
know,
him
like
shifting
normally my
blame.
mom would come help me. I'm afraid for her to come here.
Right.
Mm. Yeah.
You know, my mom is in her 60s. You know, I'm afraid for her to come up here. I told her to stay in Arizona in the middle of the desert and don't come here.
Oh, wow.
Well, I mean, to me, I feel like the news is biased because they are pumping up Cuomo, who took $6 billion out of the Medicare budget, sent people back to nursing homes with COVID. They ain't pumping that up. See, the news is biased. They're
Yeah.
not. They don't even. I don't even see the news coverage on our children. I don't even see it. Where's the special ed news coverage? Where's
Oh,
what
no.
Jeffrey Riley, the commissioner of education, what is he going to do? He
Right.
hasn't even given a state directive to what all these
True.
like we should be on one accord. We shouldn't be what Randolph does, what Belmont does, what Boston does, what Brookline does. We should be
Mhm.
on one accord of what everybody is required to do with no questions, no parents trying to call teachers and trying to figure the shit out. This is what they said needs to happen. Make it happen. But they're not saying anything.
We have no universal message. There's no universal message. There is kind of like an incident that is currently happening now for families, for low income families who receive some form of assistance, whether it's subsidy, social security benefits or food stamps. And we're working and we're furloughed or laid off. Now they're getting the extra monies that they're getting from unemployment. But while they're getting that extra $600 or whatever the case may be, now they're losing food stamp benefits. They are losing
Mm.
social security benefits. In addition to that, for those who are living in some form of subsidized housing, now their rent is increasing because of this $600, right?
Right.
So it's like a huge
It's
disconnect.
being
I do,
poorly planned. They didn't
Yeah.
sit down and think about the people who are having the hardest time making it, how any of this was going to impact them. They're just like, oh, we'll throw $600 at it. It'll be great.
yeah.
Right.
And like kind of like what Boston Girl TV said, there's no one's on the same accord, and it's kind of like again bringing it back to the reopening of our schools.
Yeah.
Many kids who have special needs have underlying medical issues, right? So opening those doors to our children, and not even just our children, we're talking about teachers, we're talking about staff, we're
Yeah.
talking about non-disabled children,
Hmm.
those children who have underlying medical issues, and we're opening the school doors when we don't even know what that looks like, and we're not being included in the conversation. How can we reopen our schools when we're, especially special education, as we know that as soon as this pandemic hit, the U.S. Department of Ed issued a statement saying special education kids wasn't going to get anything, and then they had to take that back because advocates and policymakers were like, "Whoa, where is that
Right.
from?" And then all of a sudden, they have to kind of take back that statement that they issued in mid March to say no, we're going to offer what we can, right? And but even with that, it took them weeks to line that up. I don't know about you guys, but it took them some time to line that up. And again, we understand we're literally in a global pandemic. Nothing was going to happen overnight, but it's hurtful that the most vulnerable people are always the ones who hurt the most in all circumstances, and that's low income families, those with disabilities, people
Yeah.
of color. We know this, right? And so I don't know if we can kind of dive more into what are your suggestions as parents to reopening our schools? What can you tell those viewers, those that are watching, that are either in a political space, that are in, policymakers? What can we tell them while they're advocating? What can we tell them about our suggestions about reopening schools?
The subject of opening schools cannot happen unless there's a child care issue that's done. Like, you can't be making these things in a vacuum. Teachers have kids too. How are they going 3 days a week and 2 days a week? How do you know their schedule? You got to understand now, if there's no daycare, if there's no after school, if there's no before, if there's nobody, no YMCA to watch them on these
And
2 days
if this
off.
district opens and that district doesn't, and this one does and that one other one doesn't, and like this one has a 3 day here and that one has a 2 day over there, like not
So
all the teachers are
presently,
teaching in the
Right.
district where they live. Mostly they're not.
presently my job said something about returning June 1st. And I'm like, I talked to my boss. I cannot return June 1st. And I can't manipulate my child care issues to fit no job. I'm sorry.
Mhm.
I can't. But the difference with me is I've been working from home. So who's going to enforce some rules that, like the governor or some legal, that if you are capable for working from home, that they must allow it? If you aren't, that's a whole different subject. But I don't even see nobody passing that down. Like, that
Right.
they can force me to go back to work or what? Go in the unemployment system, opposed to saying, well, she can do this job from home. Let her do it from home. You know what I mean? Nobody's forcing. See, that's what I'm saying. And I'm sorry, it's a political issue. I'm sorry to throw Governor Baker under the bus, but when you don't say it, it leaves room for ambiguousness in these jobs to do whatever the hell they want, because you're not putting anything in force. You're not saying anything. He says a lot, but a lot of those things he's not saying much. I've watched those news things. He's not saying much. He's not saying much about the people affected. You're saying about the people getting COVID, but the other people affected. Most people in this country are living paycheck to paycheck. So it's a tightrope. It's a tightrope. So when you take away their child care, how the hell is this going to work?
Yeah.
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 Well, you know, and who's going to end up doing all the child care? Because
Yeah,
all,
but
you
we're
know,
also
like,
going to end up
who's going to
unemployed.
be
That's
pushed
true.
out? Who's going to get pushed out first? So, oh, mommy, go back home.
Yeah.
Oh
But
Go
it's
yeah.
back
still
home,
gonna,
mommy.
but it's all a ripple
Like,
effect
as
because
if
it
we
still
all
affects
have
the economy.
somebody to support us if we go back there.
Yeah.
Right.
How about you, Tiff? Talk to us a little bit. Talk to us because I
Yeah.
that you've navigated a lot of these systems, right? You
Yeah.
through, I know when we first met you, you were going through, coming back from a fire, and you've navigated
Yeah.
these systems. And can you talk to us about navigating those systems and how do you feel about sending your children because you have a baby at home,
Yes.
right? And so talk to us about how do you feel about that and like any ideas or what can we tell the world about, hey, we need to like think about this reopening of our schools very deep.
Yeah. It's definitely difficult. Like I said, my household actually experienced COVID-19.
Mm,
Me and my kid's father had the COVID-19. I started off with it first, where I had like light symptoms, and then it turned into I wouldn't say it was full throttle strong, but it was closer there. I lost my sense of smell, taste. I had headaches, everything. My kid's father, he had the whole thing. He was actually in the hospital for a couple of days too. So as far as the seriousness of this, yes, it's very serious. How it's going to affect our kids, it's going to affect us in ways I don't even know if they're going to even be able to go back to school in the fall. Not only just because like I wish they could go back to school, but the fact that are the other teachers going to be able to go back to school and teach under the circumstances that the CDC and all these other guidelines are permitted them for them to do? You
yeah.
know, we're talking about one way hallways, no cafeteria food, prepackaged foods, no
Past kids with
gymnasium.
disabilities,
I mean,
sensory issues.
this is what I'm saying. How can we construct not even just a typical kids, but atypical kids with disabilities, with services, and then only can be in a classroom with one teacher a whole day for the remainder of the school year? These can't be compliant. There's no way that this is going to be able to work. And I don't think any of the parents is going to feel comfortable to bring their kids to school. So I just don't understand. I don't know how it's going to work at all. I don't know if these kids are gonna go to school in the fall or not. It's just all a mess. And
Look
yes,
at
yes,
And here's the thing, this is not like nobody plans a pandemic. So I'm not saying they need to have all the answers, but could you at least act like you're brainstorming some solutions, that you're asking parents for some brainstorming advice, that you're putting it out there
yeah,
like, well, what do y'all think? What would work for you?
Well,
Even
can
if
we
our ideas don't happen, ask a question.
right,
and can we start with the most vulnerable students first? Okay, can we have the students who don't have the financial resources? Can we have the medically fragile students? Can we have the disabled students? Can we start with them first? Can they stop being an afterthought to everything?
right,
Okay, can we start there? Because
yeah.
if our kids can access it, then everyone can, right? Like, let's start with something everyone, like, actually everyone can
right.
access.
It's true. It's true. I
It's
see a
true.
comment here from an Evelyn that says, "I work she's an essential employee and says my son is not benefiting from virtual sessions. They keep sending emails for weekly schedules, which they know is totally impossible to support my son while I'm at work." That's another thing. Let's talk
Hmm.
about that, right? I'm glad
Yes,
Evelyn brought that up, right? Because we're also forgetting about those families who have parents who are essential employees who still got to go to work. So who's watching those? Who's watching those children? And the people that are watching those children are those the grandparents? Does the grandparents know how to navigate Google Classrooms? Um, do they know? Are they updated on technology to even support that capacity?
right,
You know, we're not thinking about that because we still have, and it's not just teachers. We're talking about police officers. We're talking about nurses. And we also
doctors,
have, in addition,
CNA.
teachers still have children that are who are learning virtually too. So the whole thing is confusing. And
Yes.
right, and I kind of feel what you're saying, Boston Girl TV, that at this point, we parents like us, we want to keep it real. Tell us what's up. Tell us that the likelihood of us going back to school in September might be like, tell us. Don't give us all the way to the end of June and be like, hey, parents, guess what?
It's like the autism diagnosis. Rip off that damn band-aid. Don't piecemeal it to me. Just give me the damn reality of my situation. I feel that
Right.
in a technology age, these people could do better. If a person is at work, why can't these teachers do videos to send to the person to do when they get home from work? Like and say and communicate via email. Well, this didn't work for me. Can you do it this way or something? Like, why can't they be more innovative about how to handle this? We're in a technology age. 90% of these classes are on Zoom. You telling me y'all can't do YouTube videos to upload to people and ask for suggestions on how to make it better to make this work for my kid?
But you know what? This is the thing, kind of like what Rachel was saying too, is that COVID has exposed we're nowhere near being progressive. So all that talk about, yeah, progress, we know, look, yo, being real, we're not progressive. Because if we were progressive, students who are in urban schools would already have access to technology.
Yeah.
Teachers who are working in urban schools don't have all the fancy swancy things that they may have in other communities that are not in urban communities. So again, it trickles back down to the haves and the haves not, right?
Yeah.
Well, I
So
got insult to injury on that. We are the best in the country. So once you get to Georgia and that 47, 48, 49, Louisiana and all that, it's 100 times worse for special needs babies.
yeah,
Yeah. It is.
that's true.
And even in like a school district like Belmont, you think that Belmont, like there are a lot of wealthy people in Belmont, but you gotta remember that a lot of those folks do not send their children to the public school.
Oh yeah.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and we have folks who live here who are on free lunch
Mm.
and who don't have internet at their house,
Yeah.
or they're home with grandma or grandpa all day who don't speak English.
Yep.
Okay, and like and like even the other folks here all assume everybody is like upper middle class. Of course, everybody has internet. Of course, everybody has a laptop in their house. Of course, everybody has a laptop and a tablet and a cell phone and a printer. And it's just not true.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
just not true. Like everybody is trying to pretend,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but it really is not the case.
But here's also the progressive situation. I feel that internet should be a utility through just like gas, fire, whatever. The fact that we gotta
Oh
be
yeah.
robbed from Comcast and Verizon to get this internet is just a scam to me from corporatism. If you get Comcast, those bills go up exponentially for the same bullshit every year, and people cannot afford it. If it was a utility, then we could also have like, programs to help people who pay for utilities. But the fact is, the have and the have nots, internet is in the right.
Yeah. But you
But
know,
you see how as soon as that happened, though, they started like discounting this and offering that. So if they can do it now, why wasn't it done before?
Why wasn't it done
hold on,
before? Okay.
say it again.
That's so
Say it
true.
again. So the
That's
people in the
true.
back can hear you. Did you hear that? So we had money in the budget to bring out all these Chromebooks for those that didn't have it, but we didn't, when it's special needs parents, and we know this for those parents who fight for services, and you sit at IEP meetings and they're like, well, we don't have funding. But this kind
Mm-hmm.
of also brings me to another conversation about, so each child navigating a public school has a per pupil expenditure, right? And these are the things that are kind of wrapping in my head about reopening our schools, right? So my child is bringing funding to your school district, and because my children have a individualized educational plan, my child also bringing an additional few $1,000s to your district, more than your average non-special education student. So how are these monies really being spent to educate our children? And I understand that, a lot of those funding goes into salaries and programs and things of that nature. But, in my head, kind of like one of the thoughts that I'm having as a parent first is, how can I tap into my child's per pupil expenditure so I can buy an online curriculum and think about just homeschooling my children until we figure this whole situation out about returning back to school? Can y'all give me the money?
You know as well as I know, Yahara, those well, you know as well as I know, those school budgets are a shit show. They're bottom line budgets. They don't separate the expenses. They just put it all in one budget. They do not separate the revenue streams to say where it's coming from. So if they got $60 million, this is $60 million for the budget. Not 2 million of this came from the federal government for our special needs. They don't even function that way.
Mm-hmm. And
Absolutely.
a lot of people who don't understand the budget, and I'm glad we talked about this and we're bringing it forward, guys. Sorry, it's a hot topic. We getting dicey up in here. But the requirements of budgets comes down from the Department of Education. So it's not like, so for a lot of parents who are watching, I want you guys to kind of understand a part of education that I don't think we talk about. So school districts don't just come up with their own school budget and how they see fit. There is a guideline that the Department of Education gives them, right? So when parents like us are inquiring how monies are being spent, how much of it is going to this, how much is it going to special education, how much of it is going to, initiatives to bridge the achievement gap and all that stuff. It's all these these this guideline is comes down from the Department of Ed, which makes it so much more impossible to really understand the structure of our school system, especially public schools. I don't have children in charters, so I don't know anything about that department. I don't have children in private. I don't know anything about that department. But you know, what do you guys think about where do we go from here? Literally, like where do we go from here? Because I feel like right now all of our emotions are high. So we can blame the governor, we can blame the mayor, we can blame, the guy up there, because I'm not even gonna mention that name. But
the orange one.
where do we go from here?
Here's my thing. I feel it doesn't need to be a us against them. They're making it a us against them when they're not asking the parents for any questions of how we feel about anything. Those questions have never been asked. I don't think it's the parents creating a division. It's the government creating a division to cover their ass, cover their budget, cover all that. We understand this is not something anybody predicted. We are not stupid people. We have special needs kids that we want to be taken care of, but we're also reasonable in this. I'm not asking for miracles. I'm asking for a seat at the table.
Mm, mm. How do you guys feel about that? Do you guys,
Absolutely.
Tiffany, Rachel, how do you guys feel? Do you guys feel as parents that you guys have a seat at the table, at the decision making table? Because sometimes when we say a seat at the table, we can have a seat at the table, when they call us to come pick up our child because something happened, or they're having a math night, or they're having some there's seats there. But I want to have a seat at the decision making table, the policy making table, the budget, how you just spend money table. I want to have a seat at those tables, right? And how
I can't even have a seat at the math night table, actually, because they do everything at 7 p.m. when my kids need to be going to bed, and there's only it's me. Like, I'm not made out of money to hire babysitters so I can take kid A to math night, or I can go to the PTA. It's, what am I gonna do with these people? Okay, and like when they're done, they're done. Whatever high school kid they had for the babysitting is not gonna be able to handle them.
Yeah.
You know, I can't even go to a CPAC thing half
Mhm.
the time because they're like, let's do it at 7:30 p.m.
Mhm.
every single time on a weeknight. Well,
Mhm.
unless they want to do it on Wednesday night.
Well, to be honest, here we go
Right.
technology. It should be web based and it could take questions via the web from you sitting at your house. I don't understand why they can't be automated to accommodate the people who
I
cannot
have
make it.
asked
Mhm.
this. I have asked this, and I've got, well, you should bring it up, and you should whatever. Like, listen, I
Oh
can't even
wow.
get to the meeting, but I'm supposed to do this. Like, when did I get to be sitting on the CPAC? To like, I'm just saying, I can't even go.
And the funny
Yeah.
thing is, let's not be funny. I'm not saying every special needs parent needs a person at the table. They should have selected a board of people that reach out to us, take some surveys or whatever, and bring it back as a collective. Nobody's asking for 1,000 special needs parents to be at one table. We're just asking to be a part of the conversation. So you should have elected a board or somebody to manage our needs that you use as a consultant in those governor meetings, in those mayor meetings, or whatever. So that's our seat at the table because we're conversing. We know this person's name. We're reaching out with our concerns for them to have a collective. This to say 80% of special needs people, because it's all about stats now. 20% have lost their job, so that's added to the unemployment rate by 2%. 80% can't feed their kids. If we had a
Mhm.
board that, took this information and said, if you have a special needs parent, reach out to me, here's my email, do your concerns. They can actually do data on what the hell is going on. But they just push this aside and have no answers and no conversation.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
And
like
even
you. Like
that
even
question,
our speech therapy place sent out a survey before they reopened, and we're like, what do you need? What are you
mhm.
worried about? What's your situation? Did you lose your insurance? Like,
yeah.
Mhm.
this is like the speech therapy company. Like, seriously, if they can do that, like, where the heck is
Because it's all
I
about
agree with you.
Rachel.
I
It's
agree
all
with you,
about
ladies, definitely. But what they
But,
say, a
but,
closed mouth doesn't get fed. You definitely got to rock the table a little bit to get your voice heard. You got to send emails 1,000 times. You got to call these people 1,000 times. That's how I got to where I am now. Because if I didn't do that, I would still be in a
oh,
shelter right
listen,
now.
we're all with you right there. Like, I don't even attend an IEP meeting until I wrote a list. Okay, I wrote a letter and I wrote a list of everything that I think my kids should have and all the reasons why I think they should have it. Like, I don't like before they even see my face.
But
I give
Rachel,
them
to
five
go to
pages.
your question, it's government over corporate. Your speech therapy people don't get paid unless they get insurance dollars. So they're going to make sure you are taken care of. They're going to find out any way to accommodate you to charge for that insurance. Government is like, we ain't got time.
yeah.
Well, that's basically what it is. It's like people are like they're not gonna exist if
Mm-hmm.
they're not serving us
Mm-hmm.
and getting paid. And the other one's like, well, we're here whether you show up or not. We don't care if you fall through the cracks, even though they're supposed to serve us. That is supposed to be the job, is to
Yeah.
serve us. But
Yeah.
it's like that. The minute that they're off there, they're like, well, it's too hard.
And this conversation is so hard because there's so many emotions to it. Because I'm also
Mhm.
kind of thinking about the teachers in a background who have never even used Google Classroom ever, and now they're being forced to use Google Classroom. Who, especially again in communities where technology is not big in school districts, which is typically in disenfranchised and marginalized communities. So now you're asking these teachers
Right.
to work more time to start using Google Classrooms and things that they've never used before, right? And
Their
but
students have never used before. Their students' parents have never used before.
nobody's used before, right?
Mhm.
Nobody, kind of like going back to, I don't know if it was you, Rachel, or Boston Girl TV, where starting with the basic of surveying about, hey, do you have access to computers, technology, and not just for parents, but for teachers, specialists, have you used Google Classrooms before? Building that relationship first, because to me, I felt at first, I'm not gonna lie, I was frustrated. The first week or two, I was like, yeah, whatever, I got this. Anybody who knows the birth of Autism Sprinter started with me showing a lot of the videos that I was doing with my boys and trying to help them with the speech and all those other stuff. And so I was frustrated. And then I'm like, okay, I need help. Like, I'm done. This is just too much, right? And it's been like an emotional roller coaster in that department, but I felt like it would have been more productive for me as a parent first, and I'm speaking as a parent, is for the school systems to have used this time to build a relationship with me and my family and understanding what we really needed and also understanding what the teachers needed, the students needed before we came, before we pushed this whole Google Classroom and all these things onto people who are now losing jobs. They're trying to figure out how they're going to pay their bills and all this other stuff. And so I don't know. Like, I don't know if anybody wants to kind of talk more about what does it feel like now that we're 10 weeks in, about where are you guys now in this virtual learning? Like, how do you guys feel about this? And, did it work? I know that Boston Girl TV, you talked about how Ava would be on using her tablet, doing something, but she'll also be jumping into another app. So, do they work for kids like Ava who are nonverbal, but they also know how to maneuver the tablet to be like, yeah, virtual, ABA and whatever, let me jump into YouTube.
So here's my thing. I'm the one who does the trials, right? Essentially, I'm just trying to occupy her time the whole time I'm at work. So she can be on the TV, she can be on the tablet all day, she can do all that because I have a job to do. I have no time. So I'm just really appeasing her until telehealth comes. And she's like, wait a minute, I've been on the tablet all day. I'm gonna cry and scream and kick because I don't want to do this. And I'm thinking, I don't want to do it either. I've been at work all damn day. But the first 2 weeks, she cried for 2 weeks, rolled across the floor because she didn't want me to be her therapist. I didn't want to be her therapist either. We had to have some growing pains just to get this crap started, just to get it started because she didn't want to do it and I didn't want to do it either, but I had to press on and be like, look, you can cry, get over your crying, get up, sit down, let's do this.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I hear
Same
you.
here.
Oh, I hear
Same
you. So,
here.
my youngest
Like,
one
I'm
started out every day with a half an hour meltdown for the first 3 or 4 weeks, every single day. I had tokens, I had a visual schedule, I had rewards, I had still every day.
But you got to understand, they don't understand autism. Autism is about schedules and things being the same. So my child is under the illusion that school doesn't happen in this house. It happens away from this house. So the transition to turn my house into an education place, she can't visualize that. She's like, this is wrong. This is never how it's been. And I'm going to kick and scream because you're making me do something that I am not used to. This is not my schedule. I've been on the schedule for 3 years. What are you doing to me?
Yeah. I have
My
three
child point blank
emails
told me.
that I have to deal with as far as trying to focus on whose Zoom meeting is today. I have a schedule up on the in the living room saying this kid has this Zoom meeting at 10 o'clock, 12 o'clock. I mean, it's just I'm very overwhelmed with so many Zoom meetings. It's just like I sometimes I tell them don't even do it because it's just so overwhelming for them, and I can't even keep up. Sometimes he told me, "Oh, mom, I had a Zoom meeting at 2 o'clock." I'm like, "Oh my god, well, I forgot." We're trying to deal with everybody else doing stuff.
I
And then
can't
I
barely
feel
keep up with
like,
my two. Sometimes we have 5 or 6 a day because they're
I
also
feel
getting their EBA.
I feel they're not working smarter. Meaning some of these Zoom meetings should be videotaped and be able to use at your convenience. I don't understand the need. Like if they're reading a kid a book, why does my kid need to sit here when you're reading a book to the whole class? Why can't you tape this shit and send it to me? You know what I mean? Like you're not helping people who are already overwhelmed. You're not working smarter, you're working harder.
I feel like there's no best practices out there either. Like there's nothing where the teachers can refer to someone who's done it before
Oh yeah,
and then like take those practices. Like these parts can be videotaped, these parts need to be live. And also like how do you teach children of a certain age or developmental stage to use this technology? Because my son's
absolutely.
classroom, his second grade classroom teacher did a brilliant thing. And she spent her first two whole class meetings just teaching the kids to use the thing, to mute and unmute, to fix the camera, to do and like playing games with them until they knew how to use it. It was brilliant because it was
That's
right at their
creative.
age group, and like it took so much stress off of me as a parent that I had to like be there to like push all the, but like there's no guide for the teachers. Like this is how you do it with second graders, this is how you do it with eighth graders, this is what you want to start with, this is where you go next, this is how like there's nothing out there for the, and there's nothing for us either. Like how do you manage you know completely separate kids on
Mhm.
completely separate schedules with just your household to deal with it.
I feel the
Absolutely.
Department of Education, as soon as it was decided that schools should have been closed, should have got some consultants to figure this out, not just let every district, and that's back to the lack of communication, the lack of directive, the lack
The
of
lack of
obligation.
coordination.
Yep.
Yeah,
And
I
the
know that
impact
there's
is on
some people.
us. I forgot a bunch of Zooms. I like ran in at the last minute. I had to like coordinate my email to my Google Calendar because I was getting also like 20 emails a day. I didn't know which ones were
Mhm.
for Zoom, which ones were something else. I don't know. Like just constant. And then meanwhile, someone is like screaming for half an hour because they don't want to start, and I got 20 emails.
Right.
Yeah, and that's
And then I feel like because my daughter's at an ABA center, let's say she was at a school, those Zoom meetings would have never got done because I'm at work from 8:30 to 4. They would have never got done. She would have just, it would have just been it.
absolutely. Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, I know that we are fortunate that we have internet, but I'm just like, I know that there's some kids that come in my kids' meeting. I never even seen them. One teacher was like, "Oh, hey, we haven't even seen you the whole time." I'm like, "Oh, he's just now getting on. It's the mid-May. It's almost the end of May. Like they're just now coming on." And I feel so bad. Like you don't know what's going on with these kids in their homes. Do they even want to be on camera? Stuff like that. This is what I'd be thinking to these other kids that
Do their
are
parents want to be on camera? Do they want people
exactly,
seeing in their house, seeing
I
the group
will
exactly.
of
say
kids?
that Boston Public Schools did step up, and some people have been receiving provisions of food to their house if they needed it. I will
Oh
say that's a
yeah.
plus.
Yeah, I'm glad that they're doing the EBT, but I'm just like, why did they wait so late for it to come? Like, I'm just now, people are just now getting the card now in May when this started back in March. I wish they would have had did that for the people that don't get food stamps or SNAP or any of that assistance.
Right.
Did we lose Yahara?
No, she's back. She was back.
She was back, and then she was. We're running wild in here now. Getting crazy in here.
But if we say where do we go from here, I think they need to be considerate, constructive, and hire some people to deal with just special needs, not just
Yeah.
lump us all together. Hire consultants, hire a group to just deal with us and start taking consensus of what's going on and suggestions. Because sometimes the best suggestion comes from the population you're serving that if you're not a special needs parent, you might not even have thought of it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I
Absolutely.
remember when this first went down, a bunch of the typical codes parents were like, "Oh, well, isn't this a good time for them to be more relaxed and whatever, whatever? Why you got to be so rigid?" I was like, "Listen, if I don't have a schedule like planned out with little pictures of what's gonna happen, It's pandemonium in the pandemic, okay? Like this is
But
Definitely.
not like, and I'm stressed because I have to make it up right now.
Hmm.
Let me
but
dig
then
up the.
I feel that's the separation of neurotypical parents to special needs parents. My
Hmm.
child's regression is real. It's not that she just gets an extra couple of months of summer camp. So we do
Hmm.
not want to lose the progress of basic skills that your child might have learned at 2, 3, 4, 5, that my
Hmm.
child had to take a year and a half just to functionally do. So when you
Yeah.
say, oh, let them take a break, no, I'm sorry, no breaks. No
Yeah,
breaks.
A break
you got
isn't
to
a
keep it
break,
consistent.
okay? It's not a break for them. It's not relaxing. They're not happy.
Yeah, they're definitely out.
They're not, that is not a break. And yeah, regression is real.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just like the difference of like, oh, is he going to be in reading group A or reading group B? It's like, is my kid ever going to learn to read now?
Hmm.
It
Is my
must be
kid going to get potty trained? Is my kid going to know what their name looks like on a piece
Right.
of paper?
And
Like,
that's
it's like,
that's that's a good thing you brought that up, Rachel, because I feel sometimes like my daughter is so far behind. I'm like, this is really cutting her back even more farther back. Like, how do I know that she's gonna be able to know multiplication or anything like what a verb is, what a noun is? I'm trying my best here to try to finagle something up, like how we go workbooks, but she doesn't learn like that.
no, like I don't, and I'm not a special ed teacher. Like my son is 6. He cannot write his name. He can talk. Like we've got that, and like he told me directly. He's like he just said, like this is a home day. This is a home day.
Mm-hmm.
In his mind, there's school day. We go to the school building. There's home day. We're in home.
Mm-hmm.
here's the thing too, and we haven't talked about it. Having autism kids is mentally taxing. And some
Oh yeah.
parents are on the cusp of breaking down. So when the school factor and the services factor went away, there is a mental breakdown and you don't know like they said batteries, like domestic violence has ticked up. The stress of being an autism parent could be a total shit show for someone who's mentally a little off,
Mm-hmm.
because of all that's going on. Now you added that this kid is with them 24 hours a day. I mean,
Day.
I don't know what they're doing.
You can't sleep, okay, because your kid
No.
doesn't sleep.
No.
You're like you're afraid to use the restroom because your
Yes.
eyes are not on that person.
Yep.
You know, you your level of vigilance is at 10. You
Yes.
can't even sleep the
Yes.
same way when you do get to sleep.
Right.
Yes.
Like you just like and like it's different levels for every kid on the spectrum, but it is not the same. Like
But I
it's
think they also
Yes.
mess with that because that high functioning word should not be used. Because just
Mm-mm.
because your child's high function does not mean that he might not need just as much services as the child that's not considered high functioning. They're still the same, they could need the same level of services to get to the next level. But they want to say, well, he knows math. Well, that's nice.
Mm.
But there's still 20 million other things that he might need help with.
well, my
Oh
older
yeah.
son, okay, like would be like very high functioning or whatever they want to say, right? But he
Mm-hmm.
cannot, like, if I don't run him, he cannot sit down.
Mm.
He spends the whole day just like pacing, and he
Wow.
cannot control his emotional reaction. He cannot
Mm-hmm.
plan things by himself. Someone has to plan all the steps, like what are we gonna
Yeah.
do when we do math? Where's the paper? Where's
Can
the
you guys
pencil? Do we
hear
read the
me? Because
paper
I
first?
feel
Do
like
we get a
my computer
pencil?
keeps
Do we read
glitching
the
out.
directions? Like
We can't
every
hear
little
you.
thing.
Refresh. We can't hear you. Refresh.
It's
We
he
No,
can't
we
stand his
can hear
brother.
you.
Okay, the two of them together, fireworks.
Yeah, definitely. Same here with my daughter. She will if things just do not go her way, she goes out into a full like anger tantrum type of thing, and it takes like 10 minutes every time that happens to calm her down. And it's just like, I'm in an apartment, I'm in a 3 family house, so I don't want the neighbors to be thinking anything going on. And that's when I'd be thinking, like, oh my God, these the neighbors are hearing my daughter scream. I'm trying to calm it down. And um they say that parents of autistic kids have the stress of a combat soldier coming back from a war. And it's true. I'm telling you, like, it's so true. The stressor, the whole PTSD, it's real. It's really there.
I'm very fortunate in that my neighbors and my landlords are good friends of mine. They know about me and my kids. They know about our situation, and I don't ever worry about that.
Hmm.
They make me laugh because they apologize to me about their kids yelling. I was like, I hear them yelling, and I'm like, I'm so glad that's not mine yelling.
I know.
But that's not my circus.
Right, right. Oh my goodness.
All
It
right,
is so
guys.
true.
So I don't know what's going on with my laptop. I don't know what's going on. The luxury and the chaos of technology. It sounds like we're having a blast. I'm watching it from my phone. I love my Sprinter Ambassador mommies. You guys are dope.com. I'm gonna close this out. It's still glitching out for me. So one of you guys do the honors and closes out. And again, thank you for your transparency. Thank you for keeping it real. And thank you for sharing so much about you to the world. Because I think that, again, we don't hear enough from parents. And, we are often the voiceless. And so I don't know who wants to close us out because my computer, I see it's still not. One of you guys close us out. Love you, ladies. I don't know, Rachel, Tiffany, Boston Girl TV. One of you guys close us out.
All right. Thank you for coming tonight. Thanks, everybody, for listening. And thanks, Shahada, for bringing us all here. Thank you, ladies. Thank you, Boston
Thank
Girl.
you. It was a pleasure.
Keep
It's
the conversation
virtually.
going.
We'll be one day. We'll be at an event in person soon where we can all have our quirky children doing their quirky things together.
Of course.
Bye.
Thank you guys.